Well, look at that. Who are we missing? There he is.
True.
Hello.
There he is.
Yeah.
Mr. Dane, what's happening, man?
Hey, buddy.
All right.
Hey, guys. Look at
So-
this.
It sounds better all around.
I don't know how to mute myself or anything on my.
Sounds pretty good.
Can you
Yeah.
You sound great, Terry.
Great.
Does it sound good? Everything sounds
Yeah,
good.
you sound good.
Yeah.
You sound great.
Sounds great.
Everything sounds
You look great too.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. We are live on our Lost Bayou, our Lost Bayou live virtual Q&A. Who'd have thought? Guys,
Woohoo!
welcome. Welcome. Thank you for taking your time, for giving your evening to this bunch of fools that we are to celebrate the work that we've done and the people that make it happen. I am Hunter Burke. I will be your moderator this evening. I talk too much, and so you'll find out that I'll be quick to listen to some of these wonderful people around us. First of all, I do want to say a very special thank you to Seed&Spark and Emily Best and Shayna Woolley have been incredibly helpful in getting this off the ground and allowing us to pretty much hijack their software here in order to do this. So thank you all very much, Seed&Spark. Y'all have done incredible things, and we have so much to thank you for. I'll also say that you know, while we're here having a good time, we're also thinking about our folks in Lake Charles, and throughout the night I'll be dropping a couple of links to where we can assist in helping them get back on their feet. You know, Louisiana, we love you guys, and we're thinking of you. But to kind of start from for now, we're gonna go through a few warm-up questions, and I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves. Let's see, it's this way. I'll start that way, and I'll start with Natalie.
Yeah, I'm Natalie. I was the cinematographer on Lost Bayou. Hey, everyone.
That's it. And I'm coming from the same house as Natalie, but a different room. I'm Brian Richard, and I was the director of Lost Bayou.
How you look down, Brian?
Hey,
Either way.
You go, Dane.
Me. Hi, I'm Dane Rhodes. I played Pop in Lost Bayou. And this guy right over there. That's your cue, Kenny.
Hey, I'm Kenny. I played the producer.
Hey guys, technical difficulties. Why is this so hard? Hey, I'm Terry Weibo. I played BAYOU.
Welcome, everyone. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you very much for giving us a Tuesday night. We're here to entertain what we believe will be entertaining. And to kick things off, I'm going to do one of my favorite questions from a podcast that I've been listening to a lot. It's the Blacklist podcast. They're not sponsoring this, but it's a wonderful podcast. And it's a great question, and I'm going to ask everybody their individual answers. And it's, what is your favorite memorable movie-going experience? What did you see? You know, where were you? What was it, that thing that was memorable, that made an impression, that made you want to do this, that made you want to commit your crazy life to this? And Natalie, I'd like to start with you, please.
So I don't have one of those moments like growing up and saw a movie at the theater that made me want to commit my life to filmmaking. Sorry. But one of my favorite movie-going theatrical experiences, I guess, has been, it was in New Orleans. Do y'all remember Shotgun Cinema? And they would do pop-up cinemas, where they did a pop-up at Marigny Opera House of In the Mood for Love. And that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was just a really magical night. It was beautiful. Yeah, so I think that was one of my favorites.
I like that one. I think I was with you on that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you and Sam and Terry, maybe you were there too.
All right, Mr. Richard. Looking at you, Mr. Director. What's your favorite movie-going experience? Memorable thing, something that you just hit you in the right spot?
There's a few of them, but one of the few ones that really stick out that I think of quite often. I think it was around like 1996. It's like the year of the blockbuster, and me and my mom were like huge action movie junkies at the time. We loved watching action movies, especially like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And so me, her, and a bunch of her friends decided to get a wild hair and see as many as we can in one day. So we're gonna do a triple feature. And so me, her, and her friends went to. We were living in Lafayette at the time. So went to 3 different theaters and saw 3 different films. I believe we saw The Rock, starring Nicolas Cage. We saw Eraser, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then we saw Independence Day.
Wow.
It was definitely a wild day. I think we started at the mall near Lafayette. They had the movie theater over there, which I don't think exists anymore. And then we went to that remember that single theater they used to have near
Westwood.
Yeah, like the Westwood Theater, which got torn down. That doesn't exist anymore. Went to see a movie over there. Then we went all across town to the north side, and we saw another movie there, which theater doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy that how movie theaters are disappearing, especially in that area. But yeah, that's probably the one I think about most often.
That's a back-to-back day, Brian. I mean, you guys must have been exhausted. Those are exhausting movies, man.
Still some good ones, though.
So the next movie is what you're saying. The next movie that we make is going to be an action movie. Fantastic. Natalie, can't wait for you to see it.
My mom might love
it. All right, Dane, what is that movie-going experience for you, buddy? What was that one thing? And please don't say Lost Bayou. You can't say that one.
Fine. If you're just going to take away all my answers. Actually, I have 3, and only one of them involves me.
Okay. Go for it.
The other two involve my family, which I love. I was in Deja Vu, and it was the first one that my mom and my brothers together could go see, and they were in North Carolina. So my brothers called me from the movie as they were watching it because they were all laughing so hard because the first thing you see, I play the ferry captain. The ferry boat captain in that movie. So the movie begins with my hand pulling the horn, right? So this is what you see is literally this. And when my hand came on screen and I pulled the horn, my mother screamed out, "That's my son!" And my brothers loved it. So that ran for like 3 years in my household. My brothers would call me up and go, "That's my son," at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it became a favorite movie memory. It's just, how what we do can affect other people in our lives. It just made my mom, have this special moment. So
you're typecast around a lot of boats, I've noticed lately, Dane. You do a lot of movies.
It was just in Power too, and a friend of mine sent me a thing where he said we should just put all your movie stuff together. We start out as a ferry boat captain, and then you end up having a houseboat. And then you get blown up on a big boat at the end. Well, yeah.
Spoiler, Dane.
That kind of
You definitely need your boat reel, man.
All right, Mr. Reynolds. Movie-going experience. The thing that you remember, the one that sticks out.
So this one's easy for me. I remember. So I grew up an Army brat. And so we lived overseas at the time, and movies always come late to Army bases and everything. And for some reason or another, this big blockbuster finally made it to base, and me and my mom show up, and we're the only people watching it. And that movie is Forrest Gump. And to this day, Forrest Gump still messes with my head. It's just so good. It's so good. Forrest Gump, best movie.
I love it, Kenny. I love it, man. Have you seen that meme that's being passed around? It's like when you wake up early at your friend's house, and it's like those pictures of Forrest Gump just waiting around on his house.
No.
Anyway, too timely. All right, Miss Weibo, give us your memorable movie moment as the daughter of a video store tycoon.
Yeah, don't say that. People assume that I have seen everything. That's not the case. My parents used to not let me watch anything. Except for very PG. What's the other G and PG? recently when Joker came out, I went to see it with my old roommate, and I could remember the pivotal moment whenever I was freaking out. It was his dance sequence in the bathroom. It just kind of hit a peak at that moment in the film, and the lighting, how it was shot, the dance element. I was just grabbing my room. I'm just like, and it was just stunning, and I loved it. And it was, I don't know, I still get chills just thinking about it. I want to be the Joker.
You can be the Joker. I think everybody gets a crack at it these days. So you're up next.
Especially interpretive dance being in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd pay good money to see that, Terry. All right, guys. If you're just joining us, we are the Crazy Lost BAYOU crew. We've just been warming up. Dane, you're crazy, definitely. We have cinematographer Natalie Kingston. We have director Brian Richard. That's right, it's Richard, not Richard. We have Mr. Dane Rhodes. That's our very own Pop. Don't let him fool you. He's a very kind-hearted, youthful man. And then we have producer Kenny Ronaldo Reynolds, the man in the house. And last but not least, we have Terry Weibo, our very own gal. Folks, it's a different hairstyle. Get used to it. If you've seen the movie, you'll understand it. We're going to launch into some questions about the movie because I know you guys are dying to know. Let's see. And the first question up is Brian. You ready, Mr. Richard? There's a lot of pressure to go with the first question. Brian, can you discuss the genesis of the project of Lost BAYOU? How did all of this come together?
Well, I guess it, it started off with, you can start it from a very long time ago from us, most of us, especially me, you, Natalie, and Terry, making movies, making short films and doing commercials and things like that all together. And then, getting to the point where we're like, all right, I think we want to try our hand at making a feature film. And so, we started talking. I know me and you have kind of partnered up on kind of writing several feature films with Nick as well. And it's, you keep writing different budget levels. You keep trying to find ways to make things. And then keep finding out it's a really hard thing to do is make a film. And so when, we had like a strike one with one film that was a little too much, and then strike two with another one that didn't really work. And then finally we're like, let's make a movie that's like back home, that deals with, that's kind of like about our people and kind of like that really kind of something that's very personal and to the heart for us. And so we started talking about, well, what are some things that we want to do? And we're like, let's, I really wanted to make a movie on a houseboat because my family had a houseboat growing up. And, I always remember like whenever they bought that houseboat around like Morgan City, and they had to take a 4-day trip across the Chaffalaya Basin through the Chaffalaya River and up the basin and everything to bring it to around the Henderson area. It's where we had it. And it just was like, an epic journey they had to take to get that houseboat across, like, one of the largest wetlands in America. And so when I was talking to you, I was like, let's make a very small movie like that. Not thinking that it's a huge undertaking to make a movie on the water. And then, we started talking about the types of things we want. And, we were enamored by our Cajun culture and the idea of like, mysteriousness of like a traiteurs and like the Cajun faith healers and things like that. And, y'all guys started tinkering around with things and found a script, and we're like, let's go do this hook by crook. And we set sail and kind of never turned back.
That's very true, Brian. And that's a good jumping off point because I'll kind of take it from here, even though I'm the moderator. So sorry. Here's the other thing is like, I know all the answers to the questions, so they're inherently going to sound weird. Anyway, so after that, one of the things Brian and I said was like, we're going to make this movie for $10,000, which would have been the stupidest thing we've ever done. And we've done some stupid things. But around about this time, I believe it was IndieWire released this article about a crowdfunding hometown heroes rally that Seed&Spark was going to do. And Brian and I had been at the Austin Film Festival a couple of years prior, and we'd seen Emily Best give the best spiel I've ever seen about using crowdfunding with Seed&Spark. So we were familiar with them. So Brian and I thought, oh my gosh, this is kismet. And at that point, we had brought on, which our executive producer, Alicia Davis Johnson, is somewhere out there. We love you, Alicia. At that point, Alicia had so kindly, said she'll come aboard and support the dreams of a bunch of crazy people. And she was very insistent that we, go after this prize. And so the prize was you had to run a crowdfunding campaign on Seed&Spark for 30 days, and you had to raise a minimum, and I cannot remember what that was. But I think ours was 15,000. And then we also had to attain a certain number of followers. Hey, Alicia. So we set sail, and we had 30 days to do this. And it was part of the process was to continually update and make videos and raise money. And the grand prize was, and I neglected to say that, was having your film executive produced by the Duplass brothers. Well, we ended up meeting a lot of incredible people along the way, a lot of incredible filmmakers, and made it to a point where we didn't win the grand prize, but we won what they called an "oh shit" grant, which was essentially $1,000 to put toward those types of occurrences that are like, oh shit, we don't have money for that. And so with that, we developed, we kind of galvanized our base at that time with our creative team for Lost Bayou. I was getting all of these people on the screen and more to do updates and videos and make fools of themselves, and they did. And we reached out to you guys in the community, and you guys were there to support us and follow us, and because of that, we really got kickstarted. We had a great part of the movie that we put away before we even started shooting. And I think, again, I swear I don't work for Seed&Spark, although they are putting this event on. They really helped us out, as they do with a lot of filmmakers, in setting up this competition. So kudos to Seed&Spark, Emily Best, Shayna Woolley for helping us tonight. And that was kind of, let's see. So at that point, we had talked to Alicia Davis Johnson about coming on board, as well as running our Seed&Spark. And so at that point, that kind of put us into a trajectory for a shoot. And from then on, my question, let's see, I am going to take a second before we're going to pause to bring up a charity that you can contribute to, who's helping the folks in Lake Charles. I know it's going to be like a telethon tonight, so bear with me. But the first one I'd like to highlight, and please drop them in the comments if you guys have more. The first one I'd like to drop tonight is a Community Foundation of Southwest Louisiana. And they are raising money for people who want to help their neighbors in Southwest Louisiana return to their lives they'd known before the disaster struck, the disaster being Hurricane Laura, of course. The contributions we receive will be granted to nonprofits that have proven they don't flinch when catastrophe comes. And you can find the Community Foundation of Southwest Louisiana at foundationswla.org/hurricane relief. And we're going to link that to our Facebook page as well. So if you, I know it's tough times for everybody, but if you have the financial means to contribute to some of these wonderful organizations helping out for the devastation in Lake Charles, I highly recommend you do it. And every little bit helps, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Anyway, we are moving on to my man, Mr. Kenny Reynolds.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, sorry, there'll be some interstitials throughout the night, guys. Kenny, Tiger fan. I mean, we have to talk LSU football in a little bit, but right now we got to stick to Lost Bayou. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Kenny, this question is for you, and it is essentially kind of a two-hander. Kenny, if you guys are just joining us, is the producer on Lost Bayou. And so producers basically get the movie made, for those of you in very broad terms that don't know. And so Kenny was in charge of getting our movie made, essentially, along with several other producers, but he was kind of the guy in charge. And so this question is geared toward, Dear Kenny, comes from a reader, obviously. Kenny, how did you and Brian formulate a shooting schedule around 13 days, shooting on location on a houseboat on such a small budget?
The initial answer to that is we didn't. We made a schedule for 15 days and snow happened. But I guess what I can say about this, I would like to say all the credit on us sticking to our schedule really goes to Brian and Natalie. They made a plan and was flexible, and every day they made adjustments, and they really, it was that flexibility and that focus that really kept us on schedule. Me and Brian, we game plan some things, as most people do, but life happens on shoots. And so, the way you survive is through your flexibility and through being just very conscious of what you need and having your team all on the same page. And that really started with Brian and Natalie. Every day they showed up to set with a plan. And I'd also give a lot of credit to that, to my other co-producer, Russell Blanchard. He would sit with them in the morning and, work out what their plans were for the day. And Russell kept the trains moving, man. He made sure that, we stayed on schedule and we stayed on task. So as much credit as I would love to take for it, I really have to give that to Brian, Natalie, and Russell.
Thank you, Kenny.
It's just like Kenny to deflect the praise.
The truth, man.
I can add on to that, saying how it was probably extremely helpful as well, because like you said, first day of shooting, it snowed in Louisiana, which it never does. It never snows ever. And so we decided to start production in the winter of 2018, which just so happened to be the coldest winter in like 30 years in Louisiana. And so the first day we had, it started snowing. And that just completely threw a wrench into every single thing we were trying to do. We lost like half the day of shooting the first day. The second day, we lost the whole day of shooting because we couldn't get over the levee with the trucks and things like that. People couldn't come from New Orleans. So we started off the shoot in complete mess. And I think a thing that, we were a big family doing this so much that it was me, Natalie, Kenny, and Russell all staying in my mom's house all together. So we'd go home and crack open a bottle of whiskey, Natalie a club soda, and just like get together and be like, well, it's all right, good thing we got that oh shit grant, because oh shit, what do we do now? And so we really just kept, every day we'd work all day, then come home and just really kind of shoot the shit with each other and, be friends and family and just talk about how we're going to make the next day and how we're going to get over it and how we're going to get through it. And it was a real kind of bonding and family affair with that, because me and Kenny, like, I feel like me and him go back, 10, 20 years, but we only met a couple months right before we started shooting because of our producer Alicia introduced us, and it was amazing because like we just hit it off right away, and I think we kind of created a really good working bond together, and I don't think it wouldn't be really. I don't think we could have made it all together living under my parents' house if we didn't really share something real strong together.
I'll add to that too. I think it's also a testament for you, Brian, just as a director, being able to have the whole movie in your head at all times, because that snow day, we lost days. So we're already, projecting a 15-day shoot, and that's, cut down. So we have to lose scenes at that point because we just can't afford to add days, we just can't. So, it was really Brian just looking back at the script and just looking at scenes and thinking, what can we lose? What is maybe not necessarily moving the story forward, and how can I maybe reimagine this a little bit? And he was able to do that just under this pressure in a short amount of time and come back the next day like, okay, I have a game plan. This is what we're going to do. And I think it really takes a leader, someone like that, to lead the ship, to be able to make everyone else feel confident and follow suit. So I think that's a big part of why we're successful too. Yeah.
I say not enough can be said about what you did, Brian. You were wearing numerous hats at numerous times, and I think I took a picture of you driving a grip truck at one point, just like a huge grin, and I was like, yeah, that's the director you want to go in the filmmaking battle with. So that I 100% agree with. Yeah. So Nat, here comes a question for you, Gal. All right, so after getting the script, you were so kind to want to be a part of this, even though you know the idiots that Brian and I are, which, you know, thank you for that. Part of that was you getting the script. And so you, as the cinematographer, you are basically, for folks, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you are essentially the controller of light and shadow. Would you say that's accurate? And how the picture looks?
Yeah, just everything, everything that involves around the photography of the film. So lighting and camera, the way things look, you know, minus the production design.
Awesome.
So the visual language.
I try to give everybody a crash course just so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I know what I'm talking about. My lighting's falling here. Speaking of.
So after getting the script, how did you begin to design the look of the film? I'm sure every process is different for you, but was there a specific process that you chose for this particular project, using references for art or work?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so with this project, and you're right, every project is different, but this one I had the luxury of being, well, at the time we were engaged, not married, Brian and I. So, you know, we were together. So we, you know, lived together, and we're able to kind of really start, you know, these preliminary talks, you know, earlier than what I normally would do with the directors I'm not married to. So that was really convenient. So one of the things that we did like really early on, I think it was like in August or September before we shot in January, we went out to one of the houseboats. I don't think it was the one that we ended up shooting on. We went out to that and just stayed out there for a weekend. And, you know, I brought my 5D and a zoom lens, and we just kind of just started sketching in the space. And just, you know, feeling out, you know, how this thing could look. Brian would play all the roles. we just kind of like go through all the scenes, and we just find stuff and play around. And that weekend was just very, very informative. And, you know, just helped us really start to visualize, you know, what this thing would look like. And then from that, we started to break down the script together, just for weeks. You know, we went scene by scene and really just like analyzed the hell out of every scene, you know, just asking ourselves whose perspective we're in, and what is the emotionality of the scene, you know, what's the scene about. And then really our visual language, you know, developed from there. And we referenced a lot of local photographers to the Acadiana area, like Greg Gerard and CeCe Lockwood, who photographed in the Atchafalaya Basin and did some incredible work. Also, William Eggleston was a main reference as well. And we also like specifically wanted to shoot in the winter. That way, everything like in that environment, in that swamp, was, you know, very dead and brown, very little green, and that was symbiotic with the theme of death and grieving. So that was huge to our look. But yeah, that was more or less our process. I think that, you know, what was key in the situation, because we're so low budget, because we're shooting in what ended up being 13 days, with 2 days of pickups, I'll say that, which were done in the spring. That prep was just everything. We couldn't have been so successful in the shooting, in the production aspect, if we didn't have that prep time. We knew that story backwards and forwards. We were totally on the same page. When something went wrong, we could just on the spot improvise and come up, you know, with something that was within our visual language. And yeah. Am I forgetting anything, Brian?
No, I think you pretty much got it. You know, just a lot of it. Just we had a lot of luxury of getting to be extremely in sync with everything, because that's just pretty much all we talked about. Besides getting married in like
in between,
a few months before.
In between pre-production, yeah. But yeah, and that's like, you know, one of the biggest things I can just advise, and like just shooting a film on this budget, is just have as much prep time as you can, and maybe some of it will be on your own dime, but it'll be worth it in the end for sure. Because there were many times where we're like, oh God, we planned all these things for the scene, but we literally have 30 minutes left in the day. Like, what can we do? Like one of those scenes was Gal and Pop just got back from the snake bite people's house. Gal puts Pop to bed, and then Gal goes in the living room and contemplates taking a pill. And so I didn't have any time to light that. We just had maybe, I think it was like literally 30 minutes or less of the day. So we just used that gas lantern and just rolled with it. And it worked, it worked. But yeah.
I'd say so. Very much worked. That's one of my favorite scenes that I'm not in. So I'm going to take another opportunity to kind of drop another Lake Charles Relief organization that you can donate to. And this one is the Second Harvest Food Bank of South Louisiana, and that is thousands have been impacted and displaced by Hurricane Laura. Second Harvest is responding to the need in Lake Charles and Southwest Louisiana. Every dollar donated helps Second Harvest provide 4 meals to someone in need. Thank you for joining the fight against the everyday disaster of hunger in South Louisiana. And you could find them at https://no-hunger.org. And you can find that link. I'm sure we're dropping them right now. Thank you very much, Shayna. Yes. And again, helping the people in Lake Charles. Don't forget about them. We love them. Back to the Q&A. Got another question, another brain buster for Mr. Richard. I hope you're ready for this. I've already forgotten it. Let me. Okay, there it is. And it's going to bring in two of our lovelier members of the Zoom call here, or whatever we're doing. And that is, Mr. Richard, how did the casting of Dane and Terry come together? Can you speak to that?
There you go. Yeah, sure. Terry being a long time, friend and muse and all of the above. We, when writing this movie, it was always her. We were pretty much writing the movie with Terry in mind, whether she knew it or not. And so, like whenever it came down to, I think to like showing the script and asking, it was like, we almost like, you have to do this. Didn't really have a choice. But luckily it was, it seemed like it was something that it was juicy enough that she could really sink her teeth into and really kind of take into her own a little bit. As far as Dane was a pesky one to try to find and pin down. We searched far and wide to cast the character of Pop. Especially for me, casting a Cajun man was like, I really wanted to make sure that was something that I felt that was not done in a cheesy way or a way that's it had to have a certain sense of authenticity to it. And so we were like auditioning a bunch of actors. We even, I think, had open calls for non-actors as well too, trying to see if we can get just work with like a non-actor, because it just seems like it was like a type of character that I had in mind for that I just didn't think we could find. And we searched and searched and searched, and we got up into about 2-3 weeks before shooting, and we still didn't have anyone. And so I was just like, we were like on death's bed, thinking that we're not going to be able to make our movie because we don't have our Pop. And I think it was Alicia who kind of came out again. She she really helped connect so many dots with this movie. And she's an actress as well too, and so she said that she worked with this incredible actor named Dane Rhodes, and have we considered him? And I was like, no, I haven't seen anything from Dane yet. And I think they sent me Dane, You're Real, and it was like, I was like, wow, this guy's pretty good. I was like, this might work. And then I think we hit you up and you sent us a tape of you reading real quick, and it was just like, eyes watering good. It was just, I knew right then and there that it's like, oh, this is why we haven't found anyone. It's because we've been waiting for you all this time. And luckily enough, you were like, you were bold enough to want to jump into a movie that had a ton of dialogue like 2 weeks before we started shooting, and like I was like, hey, we have hardly any money, and we're gonna put you in a houseboat in the winter with a bunch of strange people. Let's do it. And Dane was down, and I think the rest is history. I think you just completely. I don't know how you prepped so fast for that and delivered such an authentic and real performance that just took the character to such different heights than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, you did.
Amen to that. I think everybody watching can agree. So kind of segueing from that, we're going to come to our gal, our Terry. This question is for you. And this is, I guess, somewhat revealing. As someone born and raised in Arnaville, Louisiana, shout out to Weibo's video, Snowballs. What was the journey in designing the character of Gal, a character you could have been very familiar with, yet so unlike yourself? You obviously changed your look and your hair. What was the process of approaching something that was adjacent to you, but not you, a character that was adjacent to you?
Well, I think in an earlier draft of Lost Bayou, Gal had short hair. I don't even know if it's in the newest draft, but that's always how I saw her, with short hair. And I really wanted to cut my hair, but it wasn't happening at the time. So found a great wig that I thought embodied that. But I don't know. I think it was like, okay, I have a lot of things in common with Gal and a lot of things I don't have in common with Gal. So it was kind of like, start with what you know. And also I wanted to bring some Arnaville out. And I was like, okay, who do I know in town? Who's like, maybe like, who can I embody? Just like taking different things from different people just in town that I've known all of my life. Whether it's the way that they walk or the way that they carry themselves, or the way they look or the way they talk. And accent was a thing. I didn't want it to be comical. I wanted to give a hint of some Cajun in there, but I didn't want to overdo it. And then Gal just being addicted to pain pills. It's not something that I'm familiar with. So that was delving into some research, which I love characters that are so unlike me. Of course, I find something that I can always relate in them and relate in myself. But I love characters that are so different from me, because it gives me an opportunity to play and to do something that is just so unlike me. And then there's a few tattoos that we added in there. I don't know. I wanted it to come to life in a certain way. Hopefully it did.
I think it did. I think it's resounding with everyone out there, especially your co-star, Mr. Dane Rhodes. Is it? Am I getting your name right, sir?
Yeah. It's Greek. It's Greek. It's Rhodes.
Oh, Rhodes. Okay.
Yeah,
wonderful. Well, Mr. Rhodes, this question is for you. And as Brian mentioned earlier, by the way, for the people who don't know, he plays Pop. I know it's an incredible transformation for this gentleman. So please. Dane, coming into this film 3 weeks before shooting, what was your process in getting into the character of Pop so quickly? Because you carried such nuance and you have such a strong accent that is not your speaking voice. Apparently, you're British by design. But what was that process?
Depends on the day. I don't know. This is an odd question because every actor watching this understands and knows what I'm saying. You understand it, Hunter and Terry. It starts on the page, right? And if you can't find it on the page, then it doesn't really exist in the world where you're creating this person. And you put those words on the page. So to answer your question, it came from you. Came from Brian. It came from having time and being with Terry. And it's a medium of pictures. So a lot of my character Natalie made. A broken person is full of a lot of wires and things that stick out. And I don't think it's necessarily just a Cajun culture thing. to have somebody like Pop. I grew up in a southern climate between Memphis and North Carolina, and actually Cleveland, Ohio, and Steel Town outside Youngstown, Ohio, Pittsburgh. Pop is in every single one of those places I grew up, right? Somebody like Pop. And I think you guys captured him so well that it wasn't really like I had to work at it. And the accent is part of that. I mean, there's a flow, there's a flavor that you can't help but, like cooking, I guess would be a comparison. You're going to taste the spice. All I had to do was be there and look, it literally is surrounding me right there. You know, all of these faces. How could I not do it? I'm surprised that being in a room in a place full of Cajuns, nobody ever actually looked at me and went, "Wow, you're a poser." You know, and one of the things Brian gave me great liberty, which I'm grateful for, which he reminded me when we first started. He's like, "Look, we're doing this movie for not just for the Cajun nation. We're doing it for everybody. So, you know, we can only go so heavy with the Cajun because we want other people to have access to it." And that actually freed up a lot of tension for me, where I was like, oh, I want to be accurate, I want to be honest with it, I want to be doing the right thing at the right time vocally, but I'm not Cajun. And that at that actual time when we sat on the side of the houseboat and Brian gave me that, I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It allowed me to relax in it and just be what everybody else was being, you know. You go to the party, and if everybody's talking in a brogue, you're going to pick up a brogue, you know. If everybody's chanting, you're going to start chanting. If everybody's doing this beautiful Cajun lilt that happens in the Atchafalaya Basin, you can't help but start singing that way. So,
well, on that point, I think most people would love to hear the kind of story or what, and this is kind of a Brian, Terry, and Dane question. What was the rehearsal process or lack of rehearsal process? And what was it like on set every day? Because I feel like that was a really special moment that a lot of the relationship was kind of, again, galvanized on that. Y'all speak to that.
yes.
Well, I mean, it was more lack of rehearsal. I think we because Dane coming in so late, we didn't have much time. I think you were working on another project as well. I think, Dane. So it's like, I think a lot of what we just did was like, I know me and Terry got to have a lot of conversations. That's mostly what it was. It's me and her just like talking on the phone, sending each other things, and talking. And then, I think once we got Dane cast, me and Terry took a trip to New Orleans, and I was living in New Orleans, and we just met at my house, and we were just like, let's just all just talk about it. We can't really rehearse this. We have there's not enough time to kind of go through and workshop this. Let's just talk and really try to understand who each other's character are and who, like, the relationship each other has with each other, and just really kind of more or less, I guess, work on the chemistry between the two of them. And I mean, I think we did like once or twice. It wasn't much. And it was there. And so I think it was just more of the luck of the draw, just that y'all just kind of bonded so much. I swear, like, y'all worked together before. But yeah, I think besides that, what was it? I think we really made time on set. I know it kind of probably aggravated Russell, who was serving as the first AD as well, that like I'd be like, you know, we didn't get a chance to rehearse before we do, so we're going to workshop the scene before we shoot it a lot. And you know, I think Dane liked that a lot, and you know, Terry, I know I really enjoyed the process of just like we just like told everyone, is like, all right, I want you to chill out for a little bit. We're gonna go through this, and we're gonna really find the emotional center of the scene. And a lot of that kind of changed a lot of how we saw the scene sometimes. And Natalie would just sit there and watch and block it out. They'd run the scene a couple different times, and then Natalie would come to me and say, okay, I know how to shoot the scene. And once I think Terry and Dane found they felt comfortable with it, we just like, let's do it. We would only do like 2 or 3 takes at most, and just move on. That was it. Because like we just put in the time to kind of really get it. I think everyone kind of felt it was there. At least that's how I thought it was.
Yeah, well, Dane's impossible not to love, so I think the chemistry was already there. I mean, look at him. He's just lovable. And Brian, I loved our process on set. It was kind of like, yeah, we just told everybody to take a hike for a second, which I feel like never happens. I never get like the set myself with me and a co-star and the director to just really breathe without people just watching us constantly and just really move about the space, see what feels natural, where would I naturally go, how are we naturally going to do this scene, how it's going to work and look. And that was really freeing and lovely. Thank you for that.
We had
Yeah, that word though, that's a thing though. It's every step of this when we were on set, whether we were in a moment like that or when we were actually in front of the camera, had such a feeling of this feels right. You know what I mean? It's not it wasn't forced blocking. It wasn't forced anything. It just felt like this is the right thing to be doing, which, as I don't know, for this actor, you don't get that often, right? You have to hit this mark and you have to do this turn and make sure that this, now you're throwing to the next shot, right? Because they want that to be a pan that's happening. So yeah, you're doing all of these mechanics. And what we did was, I went on set and I had to love Terry. Yeah, it was,
He did a good job.
That's what I had to do. So it was just a natural, you know what you guys know what I'm talking about. It's every 100 hour scenes together, it's when we ended up on that ground in the doorway. Remember how that scene started with us crowded in, right? And it just didn't feel right. Natalie didn't feel right about it. That just, the whole feel didn't feel right. And then when we went back and you stopped in the doorway and leaned up against it, I was like, oh, there it is right there. That's it. Right, it just felt. You knew when it felt right. It was, and you never get that. Terry's right. You never, ever. I don't know any other set where I've actually had. Have you guys ever been on a set where you've gotten to have that kind of thing happen?
My first feature I've ever directed, so I don't know.
Well, I think Brian, you did a good job at creating an atmosphere for everyone to work off of their intuition. And everyone in the crew, camera department, G&E, everyone was able to contribute in their own way and felt safe and felt involved. And so there was that vulnerability brought to the circle from everyone. Everyone felt invested. So it was just, it was just a beautiful experience, and also, a lot of gut instinct.
Cool. Thank you.
So. Yeah, it was just, it was a magical set that I wish I could recreate every time.
We had that mentality going into it, and I feel like starting, every single day with just like, every single person who's there, just treating with respect and just, everyone's there. We've had hardly anybody to make this movie, so everyone's there because of they love being there. They want to be there. So if what I can do is make them feel loved by being there, then and feel that they're contributing to what this greater big thing that we're doing, and not just kind of a button pusher or just you're not just moving cable or doing something. We're all making this movie. Every single thing you do adds to it, and we just kept an open door policy with just like suggestions too, just like let's we could flow very very easily. So just like if we could see a better way to do this, let's we could throw it out there. You don't always listen to it, but I think giving the people the opportunity to say something at least gives them a little bit more ownership of kind of what they're doing.
That's a really good point, Brian. That idea of ownership. I mean, it belongs to everyone, and I feel like that's, by film definition standards, the director has the absolute authority, and it seems like that's a changing landscape as we keep going, which is exciting. So thanks for providing that.
I feel like we all directed it.
That's right. Yeah. Kenny was in the back, like, I don't know, line this up differently. This is terrible. Well, on that note, if anybody watching has any questions that they want to filter in, we'd be more than happy. We're going to start taking some in a little bit. I got a few more lined up for these wonderful folks. Last but not least, I will make one more attempt. Guys, if you're thinking about supporting our lovely friends and family in Lake Charles, our Louisiana family. I got one more for you, and the nonprofit is called Family Promise. It's and this is kind of from their site. As tropical storms Laura and Marco impact the Gulf Coast, families seeking shelter need your help more than ever. All funds raised through this page will directly support Family Promise affiliates in the Gulf region as they work to provide shelter, prevention, and stabilization services to families experiencing homelessness during and after these storms. So you could find that link again linked up. I'll give that to Shayna in 1 second. It's but it is Family Promise, and it is benefiting the disaster relief in Lake Charles. Again, that's our family, that's our folks. Can't forget about them. And if you have the money, times are tough across the board, but if you have the money to be able to do that, we surely would appreciate it. Now, moving on to Mr. Kenny Reynolds. This question's for you, sir. And you kind of answered this earlier, but what were some of the issues you faced during production that you had to overcome? I think you kind of mentioned the snow earlier, so we can retouch on that for our new viewers. But was there anything that stuck out to you that you had to overcome, and then maybe you grew from it? Maybe you said, "I'll never do that again." Is there any type of experience you can speak to based on that?
I guess the answer is everything and nothing at the same time. Yes, there was snow and challenges, but that's kind of the game of indie filmmaking. I suppose the thing that makes the challenges all the difference in how you handle those challenges is who you're surrounded around, the team members you have around you. Obviously these wonderful people sharing the screen have definitely brought forth a lot of stuff to help smooth out challenges. But, there's, I know Alicia's been dropped and more than deservingly. Alicia was a big part of helping things out. And then I also want to give a big mention to our other producer, Murray Roth. Had it not been for him in my corner, helping to look out for things and helping me to navigate, challenges could have been much worse. I know that's kind of a really vague answer there, but honestly, like with any film, you're never going to have enough time. You're never going to have enough money. So you just got to have the right attitude in spades. And that all comes from who you're surrounded with on set.
Would you say, Kenny, that John Prine really helped you get through the experience of shooting Lost Bayou?
Yeah, so that's the other thing I would say that helps out a lot. If you want to be, this pro tip for all you indie producers out there, the way to survive on set is a good soundtrack. And you have to play that soundtrack at a level that's borderline unprofessional. So when you have Dane and Terry around trying to learn lines, just throw on John Prine or, maybe some Frank Ocean and play it as loud as possible. If they don't know their lines by the end of that, can't do it. I can't help.
Amen, buddy. Amen. I loved going into your trailer, the RV where you were, because it was always paperwork and music and Kenny. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And I know most of y'all never saw that, and I'm so sorry because that was part of the Zen area. But y'all were busy making the movie. I was driving boats.
Next set, we'll have it piped onto set.
That's it. We need a monitor for him. I'll answer this one positively. Iberia. Okay, where's home to all of y'all? And I'm going to assume this means where were we born and where do we live? But I think we all met in Louisiana. I'll say that. I myself am from Broussard. And I'll let the trickle down. Matt, you go.
Oh, I'm from New Iberia.
Bro Bridge, Louisiana.
Arnaville.
Your mic, Dane.
Doggone it. Somebody fix me. My mic is on.
You're good.
You good now?
I'm good. I was good before. I said New Orleans. You just didn't want to hear it.
That's true. Kenny, where are you from?
New Orleans, Mid-City.
That's a Southern Louisiana, folks. It's a good group. Let's see. One of my oh, okay. So this is kind of a group question, but I think it's going to direct more towards Natalie, Brian, and Kenny. Explain the process and logistics of shooting on the Houseboat, which was essentially not a soundstage, but an actual location and a floating houseboat. And explain the instances, because well, you know, how did y'all make a movie on a houseboat? What were the logistics of that, and how did you overcome that?
Natalie, do you want to take that, or you want me to?
Yeah, you can go, and I'll chime in if I have anything to add on.
Okay. Yeah. So it started all out by our good friend, Mr. Mitch, over at Houseboat Adventures. I went to go talk to him one day, and he kindly let me say, I was like, "Hey, man, Mr. Mitch, I'd like to rent a houseboat and make a movie on it." He said, "You out of your damn mind." I said, "No, for real. We're gonna a couple buddies of my mom are coming. We're gonna do it." It's like, I just want to rent the houseboat for about 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll just go make a movie. Like, 3 or 4 weeks in the winter? All right, you got it. You can take it. So we rented. Let's take the houseboat we want, picked it out, and we're like, all right, we're gonna make this little bitty movie on this boat. I think, you know, in retrospect, it would have been really nice to be able to build sets and shoot all the interiors of the houseboat on these sets, but you know, there was a certain sense of I guess realness and space of shooting in this houseboat, which is like, you know, the size of just an average person's living room, pretty much the whole boat, and having to put a whole crew on there and whatnot. We would I guess for most of the interior shots of the boat, we parked it at the dock at Cypress Landing Cove in Henderson, and that's where Natalie would be able to kind of light from the dock and everything. And we would just kind of circulate people on the boat and whatnots, and just kind of shoot as much as we can. And we would be able to flip the boat around and toward the light, and that was good and whatnot. But then when we do all our kind of exterior shots, we have to see the boat out in the middle of the whole thing. We all found a really a nice spot about, I guess it was like a 10-minute boat ride out in the middle, kind of where we could kind of see 360 and everything. And so Mitch pulled the boat out there to an old dead cypress stump, and we would have to shuttle the crew every morning at the crack of dawn. And like my dad, he had a pontoon boat that we'd load crew on and do shifts, and we had like kind of a floating barge out there as well too, where we'd have to have some crew on, because like I think like legally we could only have like 8 people on the houseboat at one time, so we'd have to kind of like work with like having yeah, I'm sure we broke that a couple of times. Don't tell Mitch. And then so we'd also have to like worry about the weight balance of the boat, because if everyone's on the front while we're shooting, the boat would start leaning, and so we'd have to like, oh no, people need to go to the back, and some people right here. Okay, now we got the weight balance of it. Okay, now it's even. Okay, we can shoot now. And then like when we'd be like we'd shoot like the wide shots of the boat. We're like, okay, now we have to hide the pontoon boat, hide all the people on there, and it was crazy. And then, you know, we'd shoot all day, and it was a winter, so like the light was days were short, so you know we'd be taxiing people out there as the sun's rising, and taxiing back as the sun's setting. And, you know, some of those like rides there and back in the morning were amazing. My dad was he was our marine coordinator, and you know, it was pretty awesome. Boat riding every day for 3 weeks. Natalie, got anything to add to that?
I think he summed it up pretty well. I'm actually glad we shot on an actual practical houseboat and not a stage, because we definitely got that authenticity, you know. And yeah, it was hard. Luckily, we were able to shoot most of the interiors while the houseboat was docked, so I could use the actual dock, like Brian said, for lighting and stuff. But the opposite side, even when the houseboat was docked, the opposite side of the houseboat was on the water. The dock was just on one side, so that gear had to be on a pontoon boat. And then it being a boat, it was nice, you know, when it was anchored in the middle of nowhere. out in the basin, it was nice to be able to turn the boat, although it was kind of an act of Congress to do so, but we were able to do that to be able to shoot that, you know, for example, that scene of Pop and Gal at sunset on the front porch. I think, yeah, we did that towards the end of the day at sunset. And then I think the first half of that day, we might've had some interiors. And then the stuff when we shot let's see, when the houseboat was moving, and we actually shot some of those scenes inside when the houseboat was moving. And I couldn't light those, so that was all just natural light. And the exteriors of those were just natural light. And then we faked some of those interiors when the houseboat was moving. My gaffer set up this little lighting rig where we bounced the light into some water that was rippling, so it could look like the water refracting on the wall. So we did stuff like that, you know, to make it feel real. So hopefully it does.
Nat, was there a part? Okay, so building off of that response, when we had it out on location, when we had it in the middle of the swamp, there was barges to the side that were essentially holding lights in order to light this, because there's no land out there, so we had to pull boats up to do it.
Right. Well, I didn't light because we didn't bring the generator out there, because that just wasn't possible. It would have been too loud to be on the boat itself. So we did have some grip gear, I think, on those pontoon boats that we had used when it was docked on the dock itself. So I think I just, you know, did some minimal grip stuff to the windows or something. But yeah, that was how we were able to make it work, by having those pontoon boats. And which also, I think we had 2 of those, and then one ended up being like the crew boat. So when we were shooting actually out on the smaller boats on the water, when those, you know, when Pop would be driving a boat, I would be in there handheld, you know, with my gaffer, who was doubling as a key grip. And then my focus puller and the rest of the camera team and Brian were pretty close to us on the pontoon boat following. So that's how that worked.
Brian touched on this briefly, but there's an element that I think is kind of genius, and it took logistics and your know-how to understand it, but the boat would be turned as needed to meet the sun. Can you explain what that, I mean, when we were out in the swamp, we had we figured out the ability to turn the boat, and you had mapped out where the sun was going to be, and given the shooting schedule, you knew where the boat needed to be facing to meet the light that was necessary.
Right.
Can you speak about that?
Yeah. So that's like that scene that I was mentioning at sunset with Pop and Gal outside on the front porch. We knew we wanted that magic hour. That's a very small window. So we had to, you know, cross our fingers that we'd get it all right. Luckily we did. I think we were able to run the scene maybe twice. Is that right, Brian? So we got maybe 2 takes total with some small pickups in between.
Yeah, we never did more than 2 or 3 takes with it.
Yeah. So that was just knowing, you know, using an app called Sunseeker that I use in prep, seeing where the sun's going to be at the exact time. So we moved the houseboat to face west, so I could get the light at the angle, the specific angle that I wanted to. I can't believe we pulled that off, because it's such a short window, and I think it looked pretty consistent. So. Phew.
I think it's another shout out to our gaffer / key grip, Kevin Hughes, who is he's another raised in the swamp Cajun boy filmmaker, good pal of ours, who just, you know, we try to get people, some of our good friends who know how to work on the water, and, you know, having people like if you knew how to drive a boat, you're hired.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, and Kevin is that person. Like he works on the show Swamp People, and you know, he wrestles alligators, so he knows the drill. And Tweety, you know, my longtime first AC, grew up in Lafayette, Carencro, and he's used to shooting on the water. So, you know, I think everyone being from South Louisiana, you know, was clutch, because we're just used to that. And Brian and I had a long project shooting on shrimp boats and crab boats and oyster boats and following fishermen around, and with this documentary that we did. So we had, you know, a lot of experience with that. So yeah, that, you know, we weren't afraid of it.
Kenny, this next question is for you. Prince or Michael Jackson? Go. Answer, Kenny. Answer.
Prince.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah.
Favorite Prince album on the spot. Go.
Parade.
All right. Awesome. I'm glad you're on your feet, Kenny. I just had to check in.
Thank you.
Terry and Dane. Okay, this is a question for you guys. Terry, I'll start with you. Ladies first. Is there a memorable moment on set or a day on set for you, a surprising moment that occurred that you remember from part of the shoot? Also, just quick shout out, Angie Neal, Serenity's mom. Great to see you. Thanks for having your daughter be a part. She's of our film. She was wonderful. Sorry, I just wanted to do that before she had to go to bed, maybe.
Hey, Serenity.
So yes, Terry, answer. Sorry. Memorable day, scene, moment on set for you.
Well, you guys did talk about the snow a bunch, but that first day was pretty mind-blowing for me. For that, obviously snow, I never get to see snow, so it's still very magical. But also my first lead of the feature, I'm playing a character that's very close to home, and literally I am filming at my home in Arnaville. My parents are looking through the window through the house, and they're waving, and I'm like, this is nuts. Like the very first day of filming, I'm shooting on the Bayou Teche, which is where I've lived for most of my life. And so it was really trippy. And then halfway through, it starts snowing, and I'm like, what is happening? And it was just the first day. I was like, wow. So that obviously stands out in my mind. That's really special and mind-blowing.
Dane, Mr. Rhodes, Mr. Pop Dane Rhodes. What about you, buddy? Any specific moment on set or day that sticks out for you?
There's two, actually. One was when we were all in the lower bunk trying to get a shot, and we had 6 of us. Kenny, Natalie, Hugh, Hunter, where I crammed down that one corner. You guys remember that when we were trying to get that one shot? You guys were rolling in the back. Kenny was behind you, Natalie, tweeting somehow was in the corner. I just remember looking at all of you trying to get a shot of the ring from the bunk space. I think we came back and redid that, but I just remember going, those are people that love, they're going to get, when you go to those lengths, you were all gymnasts, contortionists that day. It was all I could do to keep from laughing the way you were over each other. That just is stuck in my head of all what the lengths y'all were going to try and get that shot was just amazing. When we're all crammed in this 5-foot by 7-foot room with the bunks, and you had half of the space had to be taken up by what I and the props were doing. And then the other one I think is the scene you guys were talking about was on the porch, is one of our confrontation scenes, the gallon pop. And I'm not blowing smoke. This is one of those days I actually meant it. I said to Brian at the end of it, watching Terry Weibo in that scene, I actually told my director, if you turn the camera around at all, you're an idiot. Because it was some of the most beautiful work I'd ever seen. And the setting behind her, I mean, the whole picture, everything that was happening, it was like, there's the scene right there. And that burned in, because that was one of those perfect capture moments for me. If I were writing a story or telling a moment, if I had complete control, that would not have ever been touched. And then I was wrong, because when I saw the movie, you had touched it and made it better. So, but those two both jump out to me. One because of the fun you guys, watching you guys do what you had to do, and one because of the beauty of the scene and the moment and the story. All captured, it all worked really well together, and I was able to sit on the opposite side of it and watch it, and that was really just magical. So
I dig that, Dane. Well said, man. Brian, lightning round, favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Go. Answer.
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian. Kind of a deep cut. Okay. Tiffany's asking where Ruby is, Brian. Where's Ruby? Can we get a dog? We want to look at everyone's dogs. If you got one, let's show it. Bring it out. We got a Finn and we got a Ruby. It's a canine friendly. Candace. Kenny, where's Lola? She doesn't want to be a part of this at all.
Lola, yep, here she is. Come on. You want to come up? Nah,
She's camera shy. Fair enough. Natalie, I'm going to throw it to you. Is there a favorite moment of yours, a day, or an experience that happened while you were on Lost Bayou?
Oh wow. Sorry. I don't, it all just blends into just one experience. It's hard to really isolate. Maybe if I could think about it more.
We can come back to you. I'm sure.
Yeah, let me
Richard,
think. Yeah.
Dwell on that,
Sorry,
Miss
Brian.
Natalie.
Okay.
Mr. Richard, favorite moment, favorite actor, favorite thing about Lost Bayou?
Favorite actor, Sprinky. Let's see. I guess probably one of my favorite moments. I'm 100% with Natalie. I think they everything they kind of feels like all blended together as like it was all shot in one day, and everything just feels kind of emotionally the same almost for it. But I think a moment that really sticks out to me, and it's still in the movie, it gets me choked up every time I see it, is towards the end of the movie whenever we're at the dock and they're saying goodbye, and it was like we're shooting that with the sun going down. I mean, we had so little time to shoot. I think we had to shoot that whole scene in like 30 minutes, and there it's everything just kind of working out right. We had to get all these other shots, but then we got into the meat of like just the 2 shots, across, shooting things, shooting serious coverage of them, just the simple goodbye and whatnot, and the moment where they go to hug and Dane Pop leans over and tells Gal he loves her, which was totally not written in the script at all. And it was so emotional. I remember I started like tearing up on set when we saw it because it was so great. And it was the first time I realized within the whole movie, it's like, oh, this is the first time they embraced at all. They never hug, they never touch, they never really do anything that's kind of like lovingly with each other. Like I guess like father-daughter. It was like the first time they really felt that hug. And then when he whispered, like, I love you in your ear, you really felt that. And it just was like, all right, I was like, I feel like I was like towards the end of the shooting too, so I was like, I think we already went through so much pain and suffering trying to get this movie shot in the dead of the winter of Louisiana with 2 snowstorms. And yeah, that's like the most like memorable one. I remember filming it, being like, oh, this feels special.
Yeah,
I remember that, hearing about that day. I don't remember being there. I wasn't there that day, and I'm insanely jealous and regret that. Mr. Reynolds, was your favorite part of Lost Bayou when I would come to visit you in the trailer with pieces of paper and jovialness? No, is there a particular memory? I mean, you've got a great picture from that set. I feel like, if nothing else, that headshot is fantastic. Yeah. But is there something you remember?
Shout out to the wonderful camera interns we had on there. Raina took some great shots. Spencer took some great shots.
Sean Manuel.
Yeah, the future's bright. The kids are good. They did some great work. Most memorable day on set, honestly, there's a few days to point out, but I think on the schedule, day number 3 of production was the most memorable because everyone returned. It was, like we said, it snowed on our first day of production, so we had to shut down on our second. And, when you're doing something like this, it's truly a labor of love. There's not a whole lot of reason to force people to come back. It's really their own love for what they're doing that makes them come back. So to show up on set, and see all these people ready to go, ready to put their, best efforts forward. I mean, you kind of can't help but feel a little bit overwhelmed about that, because it's not the money. It's all about, what the belief in what they're doing is.
I like that, Kenny. Well done, sir. Amen.
I'll riff on that, because that's what I was thinking about too. The shoot was hard. Like, it's easy for us. It was a magical experience, but it was brutal. It was freaking cold. Every day you had to put on all your layers, and well, except for the actor, sorry. But put on all your layers, go, outside or in a, houseboat that didn't really have heat. And it was just, you're doing multiple jobs because we have a smaller crew, and, it's just, it was brutal. But like Kenny said, just that positivity that was just infused in the set. Everyone, at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was, everyone is just smiling, genuinely wanting to be there. And that is really rare. I haven't really experienced that since Lost Bayou. And it just, it just made me feel so grateful to just be a part of a team like that. To just wake up when you're like, oh God, I don't want to get out of bed. 5 hours of sleep, and how are we going to do this? And we don't have any time, and blah, but then you're reminded of why you need to be there and why the story needs to be told, because everyone believes that it needs to be told. And then one of my favorite scenes to shoot was actually during the pickup. It's one of my favorite scenes of the film, is the climax. The resurrection scene, or the non-resurrection scene, when Pop and Gal are trying to revive, well, Gal is really trying to revive the dead woman, and just the moment just of, the two of them with the woman's body in the bayou, and I'm there handheld just a couple feet away from them. I'm getting chills thinking about it. And then hearing Dane's line, sometimes his answer is no.
Which that is not a
right
scripted. That is not a scripted line. Mr. Rhodes came up with that on his own, and I feel like that sealed the deal and empowers the movie, in which, like Brian was talking about, allowing people the freedom to access that creativity. I'm sorry to interrupt, Natalie. I just feel like that's a great point.
I forgot that wasn't even in the script. Oh my God, I'm glad you brought that up. It's just absolutely incredible. This is so powerful, and many people have brought that one specific line up to me and saying that that's like one of their favorite moments. And shit, no words.
That actually came out of us standing on the side. I don't know if you remember, but in cold, when we were standing over by the truck, Brian and I were talking about how this really should pass. It was another one of those organic moments where it was just the thing that happens with traiteurs that we never got to, was the passing of it from the father to the daughter, or from the mother to the son, right? That we never actually got to the point where they're passing it. And so when she was in the water trying to do what hadn't been passed to her yet, Brian and I were talking about, and it was just that day, remember, Brian, about how this really should be, I hate to use the term, but a teaching moment, right? How long can you watch your kid struggle at something that you know how to do, that they don't really know how to do yet, and they're fighting to do it, right? Before you intercede and you come in to pass along and go, you're not holding your hand right, or turn the screwdriver this way, or, you know what I mean? And then that came out of that talk we were doing on the side of, well, some talking about what you were doing here should happen. And that's where the words came from, was, well, what is it you're trying to do? You're not trying to raise this woman. You're praying and using yourself as a vessel for God to come in to help raise this woman. And that was never passed on or talked about before. So that seemed like the proper moment to bring in that aspect of the healing, the healers, right? Going from parent to child, while she's actually struggling to do it. So that didn't happen anywhere until we were actually talking on the side before, like, oh yeah, we really should maybe And it felt like, again, I'll get back to that thing. Again, it just felt right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Harry,
Hunter,
what was your like internal reaction when he said that, like off script? Like, what was
I feel
running
like
in your head? Do you remember?
a few times where he would go off script, and I'm like, you're so good, Dane. Like, I can remember getting mad when the camera's on me, and like I should maybe be, producing tears at that moment, but Dane is here, not even on camera, crying, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you
Co-sign that.
Stop it. But maybe it was all to help me. Dane, were you crying just to help me?
A needle, you don't remember?
What?
Off camera, the way you were poking me with that crochet needle, that hurt. It made the tears flow. Yeah, no, I'm in the seat. I wasn't kidding. I mean, I say that, and I know it's kind of a big term, but I was every moment, whether the camera was on me or not, I was in the scene with you because you would bring me along with you. So,
Yeah.
and there wasn't much room to go away. So when you're saying lines, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say we're nearing the end of our run here, so I wanted to get any more questions from the viewership. And we got one from Shauna. Were there any injuries on set? Any close calls? Equipment losses? Brian?
I'll take that. Yeah. No injuries on set, thank God. But and for shooting a whole movie, we did have equipment losses though. For shooting a whole movie on the water, you would think that a lot of things fell in the water, but only one thing fell in the water, and it was our driver, Mr. Sprinky. He would hate me telling this, but it was just another one of those cold days where shooting the scene. It was right after scene where the strange fisherman drops Gal off at the houseboat, and we meet Pop for the first time. We were just trying to shoot some coverage of something, and I think something fell. I think it might have been a piece of wardrobe or something fell into the water, and Sprinky just I think naturally just went to go get it and plunged over. Our gaffer Kevin was in the boat with him, holding the camera. He tried to reach over, and he almost went over with the camera, and he quickly had to almost hand the camera off to someone else to try to pull him out of the water. And it was freezing cold. Luckily, we already got shots because we had to rush him back to the landing so that he can get a warm shower, because I think the water temperature must have been 20, 30 degrees at the time.
Oh my God. Oh.
It's a lot colder when y'all were in there. But the only thing we lost was the wireless audio microphone thing. But that was it.
Which is a huge loss for Gilly. He was so mad.
We got
Hunter, I don't know how you didn't get damaged, buddy. You were wet the whole time.
No. It was I had a wetsuit.
Wasn't he?
Wetsuit.
Oh God.
Hollywood it, man. I tell you what, Hollywood it. Look, Kevin Hughes is joining us. Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
Kevin.
Wait, okay. Kevin. So somebody, let's see. Anna Salstrom asked this earlier. She said, "Do y'all speak Cajun French?" Unfortunately, I don't believe any of us speak Cajun French, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Louis and Ashley Michaud, who were incredible consultants on this film. They helped us do a lot of the translations, as well as Johnny Mathern and Terry. You're gonna have to help me out. Robin Bizarre. That's not her last name anymore. It's Robin something. Anyway, we reached out. Robin St. Romain. That's right. We reached out to a lot of the community in South Louisiana, and they were able to translate a lot of the prayers and a lot of the colloquialisms that we wanted. And specifically, Louis and Ashley Michaud. Louis is one of the heads of Lost Bayou Ramblers who did the score for the film, which, I mean, they're incredible. And then Ashley is just kind of a folklore preservationist, an archivist of the Cajun culture, and go follow her on all the social medias because she is so interesting and so fascinating. What's Kevin saying? I'm not. Oh, okay. Kevin's out in the swamps.
Of course.
There was
It was like Becca Beckner was on set every day, kind of helping out with,
Yeah.
you
yes.
know, like Dane with the accent and just kind of just general picture stuff to make sure that we weren't going too far into the, I guess, the storytelling world and kind of keeping it in somewhat of a kind of like realistic kind of vein of what it is. You know, we definitely took some liberties with the idea of what they do, but we really wanted to kind of try to keep in line with kind of like, especially a lot of stories and reality of what's going on.
Well, again, we're kind of approaching our time. The great thing is Lost Bayou is available to stream right now on iTunes, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and most cable on demand. We want to give, let's see. I mean, we never even touched on this, but we had the opportunity to go to the 2019 Tribeca Film Festival and premiere there. Briefly, guys, before we go, just give us your thoughts about the Tribeca Film Festival. How was that? What was that about, man? Last year, April 2019. Go, someone.
Bunch of Cajuns in the big city. It was stupid.
Dude, you just get to watch us. Yeah. Get to be with people you love to watch a movie you're in on a big screen in New York. Come on. You know. Hello.
Yeah. I think a really cool thing that happened was like, it was making it to the out small bayou town, kind of not too far from where I grew up, and getting to have a world premiere in New York. And then, we talk about making a movie with a lot of special people, and so many of the crew who worked in the movie came up to New York to see the movie with us, and it was just, it felt like a family meeting with all the people. It's like just, like Tweety or Focus Puller and just like a French designer, and like it's just so many people who just came to support the movie that it felt very, very special.
Co-writer Nick Lavin.
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody. It was really, really amazing. And then, and then we got to, play everywhere. It was amazing playing it back home in New Orleans. And at Southern Screen Film Festival, that was just, that was laughing up the hometown crowd. So that was always, I knew that was going to be an amazing one as well, too.
Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, some necessary housekeeping, guys. I want to thank, Seed&Spark, you guys are incredible. Emily Best, you guys are awesome. You helped us get our movie made. You allowed us to use your platform to do this crazy business that we try to do. To Shayna Woolley for helping us out. She was our production coordinator this evening. She helped. They helped us put all of this together. So thank you so much, Shayna. Really appreciate it. We want a huge shout out to The Arsonist. That is our marketing company that is helping us get the word out about Lost Bayou. And if you go to www.thearsonist.info/Lost Bayou, you can see where you can stream Lost Bayou, which is pretty much Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Google Play, a couple other cable providers. Huge shout out to Alicia Davis Johnson. That's our executive producer. She was the gal who made it all happen for us. She put our dreams together and let us do all of this. And I especially want to shout out Nick Lavin. You think you're a better writer than me, but you're not. So you can take that to bed. I hope you're a better father because you're not a great writer. Guys, any parting words from the team? Y'all take it away. Give some thanks to everybody. Natalie, Brian, tell everybody you love them.
Thanks for all the people who stuck around and watched our silly butts.
Megan Lavin.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank y'all.
I
Thank
came
y'all
up
for
with a life
watching this
mantra from this movie. I got a life mantra I'm going to pass on to everybody that came from this movie. I say it all the time now, which is you are never so lost you can't be found. So I found my tribe. That's them right there. You can see all their pretty faces. You can be found. Love you guys.
Love you.
How do
Thank
we
y'all
track?
so much.
How do these lovely people find out what else is going on with you, Hunter, and the team, the creative team from the next Lost Bayou creative group? How do they find out? what you're working on.
You know, just keep up with the Lost Bayou page. You can follow everyone on social media. Let's see if I know everybody's social media handle. Your best bet is Instagram. I'll say that. Sorry, Facebook.
Okay.
I know we're streaming live there. But let's see. On Instagram, we got @NatalieKingston. That's on Instagram. We have, God, Brian, I think it's BC Richard. @BC Richard.
I barely use it.
Okay. Kenny's is @Iota. @Iota81. Dane's is impossibly long for unknown reasons. It's Scarborough Road.
Scarborough Dane. Scarborough Dane. You can sing it. Are you going to Scarborough Dane? So you can remember it easy.
I never put that together. I'm so glad we had a meeting just for that. Terry Weibo is @Terry Weibo, not Weeble. Terry Weibo. And then I am I am Hunter Burke, because that I am Hunter Burke, turns out. Guys, who knows? Guys, thank y'all so much. This was a lot of fun. Love y'all. Thank y'all for your time. Team Lost Bayou, thank you so much for your time, for doing this. Thank you for the audience. Thank you to everybody that made this movie happen. We love y'all. And that's the end of it. I don't know. Shayna, how does this end?